Welcome, everyone, to Working People, a podcast about the lives, jobs, dreams, and struggles of the working class today. Working People is a proud member of the Labor Radio Podcast Network and is brought to you in partnership with In These Times magazine and the Real News Network. This show is produced by Jules Taylor and made possible by the support of listeners like you. My name is Maximilian Alvarez, and today we've got an important follow-up to a story here in Baltimore that we reported on back in April. To refresh you guys' memory, on April 9th, nearly a year after workers voted to authorize a strike, non-union city and commercially contracted security officers in Baltimore walked off the job on an unfair labor practice strike against their employers, Abacus Corporation, Metropolitan Protective Services, and Urban Development Solutions. The strike involved security guards stationed at city and commercial sites around Baltimore, including Harbor East, the Water Treatment Facility, the Abel Woolman Building, police stations, and housing developments, among others. In what has been a protracted, years-long effort to unionize with the Service Employees International Union Local 32BJ, workers have been fighting for more job security, better pay, accessible health care, and safer working conditions. And in the episode that we published just before the strike, I got to talk about all of that with Laura Dixon, a veteran security officer and Abacus employee, and Jaime Contreras, Executive Vice President of SEIU Local 32BJ. And today, we're talking about the latest infuriating update from this story. On Friday, May 22nd, I got a press email from SEIU Local 32BJ with the title, "City Security Officers Fired and Threatened After Going on Strike According to Labor Charges Filed Against City Contractor." Now, according to the union, quote, "Non-union security officers have filed unfair labor practice charges alleging their employer, city contractor Metropolitan Protective Services, fired and harassed workers following a lawful strike that took place on Thursday, April 9th. MPS, which employs at least 70 officers who protect 10 public housing units run by the Baltimore Housing Authority, among other sites, receives $15 million from the Baltimore Housing Authority and $6 million from the Maryland Department of General Services. Starting the day after officers went on strike, MPS also stopped bringing paychecks to Baltimore from their Hyattsville headquarters and instead required officers to drive over 30 miles to Hyattsville, creating a new barrier between officers and access to their pay. 7 officers reported losing their jobs or being removed from their schedule for actions that MPS permitted prior to the strike, including Victoria Cox for simply eating lunch in her car after 2 years on the job protecting Westport Housing in South Baltimore, where Cox dealt with domestic violence, break-ins, and shootings. After the strike in early April, an MPS supervisor interrogated an officer over union involvement and told the officer that he could lose his job. Multiple officers also reported being interrogated by a supervisor after their participation in the lawful strike, end quote. So, as part of my journalistic due diligence, I reached out to MPS for comment on these allegations, and I received a reply from CEO and President of MPS, Derek Parks, which says, in part, quote, "Metropolitan Protective Services, Inc. maintains that no employees have been terminated due to union involvement. We fully support our employees' right to choose whether or not to join a union. Of our 175 employees, only 6 have been removed from the schedule or terminated, all due to licensing issues or performance concerns. We find these allegations to be without merit and believe they are being used by the union to exert pressure on the company," end quote. So I've included the full statement from MPS CEO and President Derek Parks in the show notes for this episode so that you can read the full thing. But for now, as we always do, we're going to take you guys to the front lines of this struggle so that you can hear directly from the working people at the center of it. And I am really grateful to be joined on the show today by Victoria Cox herself. Victoria is a former MPS employee who worked to get to the rank of sergeant. And we're also joined by Daryl Riley, a former MPS employee who's been working there for 15 months and reached the rank of corporal. Both Victoria and Daryl have had their shifts taken off the schedule and essentially their jobs taken away, and they have both been put under investigation by MPS since the strike began. Victoria, Daryl, thank you both so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it, and I really wish we were meeting under less infuriating circumstances. And I want to talk about all of this with you in the short time that we have. And to start, I wanted to just ask if you guys could both remind our listeners, where this strike came from. Like, what are the key issues that you and fellow security guards face on the job? Why have you been trying to unionize, and why were you prepared to, go on an unfair labor practice strike in April? I just want to make sure that folks listening remember, before we talk about what happened after the strike, what this is all about.
Well, for one, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out to hear us. We need to be heard. Enough is enough. Things need to be stopped. I'm a little emotional because we've been riding it out for a minute without pay. We got families, we got bills. I just bought a new car. We got bills and stuff to pay. And we're behind. So basically, I'm just reaching out for help, answers. The investigation being investigated too long. It's the reason I'm a little emotional, because 2 years is coming up. And I'm a sergeant. I'm not understanding why is this happening. I did overtime. I even did fire watch for them on my days off. And the union has really stuck by me, supporting me. I just need answers. And why is this happening? Ever since we've been on strike, things has been really like hell, truthfully hell for us. Change has been like every day since we've been on strike. Things has been, it's like a change every day. Every day more has been added on to us, and we obeyed it. And when I did the 16 hours and came in the next day at 9:00, I think I was rightfully deserved a break. And I took my break at 11:30. As I took my break at 11:30, they came marching down like military people and asked me why was I sitting in my car on my lunch break, and even lied to me and said in post orders I'm not allowed to sit in my car for a lunch break. And I asked them to show me that in the post orders. They couldn't. I pulled it up. It was nothing there. I screenshot it, sent Gmails, no reply. I nicely, and it started off by saying good morning and good afternoon, and also ended with thank you. Can you respond to me to let me know what am I under investigated for? No response. So today I have gotten a Gmail saying, oh, it got moved to higher up chief. We need answers. We have bills. We have family. This is not fair. We're not taking off the schedule. If you're done with us and we're fired, tell us that so we can move on and get unemployment and go further. But they're not responding and not saying nothing to us. We're right now, we're not getting paid. Nothing. And it's so unfair. I just need answers.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Victoria. I really appreciate it, and I completely understand why you're feeling the way that you are. My heart breaks thinking about all the many working people I've talked to who are in situations like yours, and just how callous these bosses are towards our pain, how callous politicians can be to that pain, how much the media can ignore it. And of course, like, we're doing our best here to sort of counteract that. But I guess I'm appealing to everyone listening to this that, don't let these stories and these injustices just fade into the background. Like, nothing's going to happen here unless fellow workers stand up and demand accountability. And we're going to talk more about that as this conversation goes on. And Daryl, I wanted to bring you in here, and I wanted to ask if you could talk a little bit about what it was like working for you at MPS before the strike, and then help remind our listeners, why you went on strike. And then we'll talk about what happened to you after the strike.
Actually, before the strike, the job really wasn't so bad. We didn't have a whole bunch of rules or whatever. However, the job always been dangerous. On most jobs is the police and then you. On our job, it's us first and then the police. And so we go into everything, like I said, head on. We get paid a little bit of money, and we take all the brunt of the work. like I said, we go in all kind of dangerous situations where it's shootouts, where somebody got killed in a house, all that. We go first. The police is second to that. But we was really doing our job just fine, till after the strike. So, of course, we want better situation, because at the end of the day, we not the police. You know what I'm saying? But we acting like it, but we don't get the pay that they get. You know what I mean? So basically, we was just trying to, ask for better conditions for the job that we work. We think we deserve it.
Well, and I'm just remembering like some of the things we talked about in that last episode, right? All the different things you guys have to deal with. And we also talked about the fact that like it's tough because most people don't have good interactions with security guards. And so like people tend to like not want to sympathize with, workers, that they hear are security guards. But then when you listen to the kind of stuff that you guys deal with on your shift and the kind of pay that you're getting and the kind of crap you got to deal with from your management, I think it's really important that everyone hear that and consider the human being behind the uniform, and so talk to me about the strike itself. Like, how were you both feeling going into the strike? And then, like, let's talk about how quickly things changed after the strike in early April.
Wow. I'm gonna take it a little bit, maybe wind it back. And I apologize, I didn't bring this up. We also, me and my partner, which is Riley, Daryl Riley, was stuck at work for 3 days, and they promised us that they were going to, I don't know what the surprise was supposed to be, and we never got it. We stayed away for 3 days. They never called to check up on us or anything. So we sucked that up, let it go, say, hey, well, we rolled it out. We still going to do our job. We still was dedicated. I didn't know it was going to go this far. We still continue to do our job. But as soon as when the union got involved, of course, they said, no, y'all don't need no union, blah, 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 blah. We said, no, we need a union. So, of course, I stuck out at the sore thumb because I said, we need this. So I made sure that I went up to a lot of the other offices. We got it done. Of course, we go on strike, and who faces biggest days on the poster? Mine. So, of course, I was the target. I was told by other officers that, oh, yeah, we're going to get her. She's going to be the first one. They were going after everyone that went on strike. But again, I kept it professional. Before I went on strike, I told them I'm going on strike, but I have coverage. And it was that I did have coverage, and I did the rightful thing. I just didn't walk off the job. I didn't abandon anything. And I still did the rightful thing to protect my job. And I still get treated like this. I'm lost. I'm lost for words. So I just feel like it made it even worse. When we joined the union, it's like, yeah, okay. It's not, y'all not going to do what we say. We got something. So it's like they was trying to find, I thought we were set up. They were trying to find something on us. So they said, let's just pick with Sergeant Cox. She was sitting in our car, did 16 hours, came back 9 o'clock, went on lunch break 11:30. Nah, But I always cover myself by having proof. There was nothing said on the post orders. And then it was a smack in my face the next day. The captain told me, hey, well, so-and-so did 16 hours and I gave her 40 minutes. And she went off post. I said, I'm a sergeant, so what's make her different from me? And she's a new guard. So that's why I'm hurting. I'm not understanding. I never have gotten written up either. I always was a yes, sir person, even though when it was wrong. Because at the end of the day, I have bills. I have bills to pay. I have a family to feed. And now my family questioning me, what's going on. And now I'm behind on some things. And I don't even know, and I'm gonna be honest with you, we even try to cash out with PTO. I don't even know if they're going to accept that. And we're in this interview right now, and it's crazy because I just got a call from Metropolitan and I got a text message from SOC telling me to call her. That's what I wanted to bring up as well. I don't know what this is about either. Were they going to say, no, I can't get PTO now?
Man, and just like, so just to make sure that we've got it, all clear here, right? So Victoria, you we're working at Westport Housing. You'd worked there for a while. You like you said earlier, you were always, you never been written up. You did double shifts. You took, you're a team player, right? And then after working a 16-hour day, the next morning you come in and at 9 a.m. in the morning, you take your lunch break at 11 and you have your lunch in your car, and then they use that to essentially take your shifts and your job and everything away.
Yes, they literally told a fib and said, "Oh, you were on your lunch break for a whole hour." I'm like, "What?" And I'm not being funny because I have a monkey joke. Literally, they was walking down. I didn't even really stop my lunch this year. I was eating a banana, and I continued to eat my banana as I was talking to them. But I also, when they were saying something crazy, I showed them a screenshot where in the post order saying that I cannot leave the post or cannot sit in my car for a lunch break. They just had their head down. So they was really trying to find something on me.
And again, this is just my ignorance of the situation. They're trying to say that this is like a fireable offense.
Yes. And the investigation, yep.
So I want to be careful for listeners because, Sergeant Cox has not been fired, but is under investigation, has essentially been taken all off the schedule, which is effectively firing a person without firing them. But I want to be careful with the language that we're using, and so. Victoria, so they said that because you left your post to eat your lunch in your car, that's why it happened?
I have to laugh on this. I'm sorry, because it's my nerves. I have to laugh on this because when they said I left the post, I swear if you go down there, anybody that hear this, go down there Westford, they be like, wait a minute, I even showed pictures. I did not leave the post at all. Where I was at was right there that still said Westport. I was still on the property. Still there. I never went to no restaurant, carry out, nothing. I was sitting in my car on the side that still say Westport. I was still in. If that's the case, if I was off the property, how did you find me?
And how soon did this happen after the strike?
Oh, God. I'm going to say 3 weeks.
Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from what you've been saying, it sounds like things were kind of getting noticeably worse over the course of those 3 weeks.
Yes, it seemed like ever since that happened, they would come down. Ain't never in their entire life. Because me and Corporal Riley kept saying, wait a minute, I'm Sergeant, you Corp. Why are they coming down here every day and they switch stuff up? All right, y'all can't be right here. Y'all can't eat inside the building. I said, well, I'm going to sit in my car and eat lunch. Or I'm going to need y'all to start checking the front and unlocking making sure these doors unlock and lock. It was changing every day. Every day. And I even asked, so when it's poured down raining, we said, I want y'all out here. Just keep walking. So if your legs start hurt, just keep walking or lean up against the fence. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And now I guess they feel they won. But that we got her out of here on my lunch break. And they also asked me why was he in his video. I said he's not supposed to be alone because something happened to him. Then it's not going to fall on me. So what is the problem? No one stands alone, correct? We supposed to be a team together. And we were still on property. So if something did kick, we had the radios. We'd have stopped what we was doing and jumped to it immediately like we always do.
And Daryl, how about you? Can you talk us through what this was all looking like from your vantage point after the strike?
After the strike, basically rules we never even heard of before, never even seen, was now a rule that, we didn't know nothing about, It was all new, They was basically just doing everything off the cuff, After that, it was just like, whatever, we'll just find anything or whatever. But before then, these same things and all that was never issued, was never talked about or whatever. And the thing about it is everybody anyway goes off of property to go take their 30-minute break. You call it into command that you're taking your 30-minute break so they know it. You call it in and then you call it out when it's over. So 2 days before that, our captain came and said that, one of the people from the contract said that, we left the site or whatever. I said, no. I said, I left the site. I said, I went to Popeyes. I said, I called in the 30 minutes to command. And then when I got back, I called it back out. And he said, well, that's for us. That's not for them. So basically he was saying, okay, it's really okay, you know what I mean, for the company, you know what I mean? But he don't want the contractors to know that that's what it is. But basically, we got in trouble anyway because of it. You know what I'm saying? Like once, you know what I mean? Like they just, you know, after that, I mean, just.
Well, and you know, again, I'll qualify this by saying that I'm drawing this comparison just as myself, Max Alvarez, a journalist who's interviewed workers in different situations across this country, including, you know, workers at like Starbucks stores that have been unionizing or trying to unionize or successfully voted to unionize. You know, this is the kind of crap that those workers have been telling me for years. They say, yeah, man, like all of a sudden managers are writing us up for things that they have never written a single person up for ever before. They're saying that they're not retaliating against us for union activity, but suddenly my hours are getting cut and now I'm losing my health care. You know, I'm being assigned shifts in another store. Like it feels like blatant, you know, retaliation and punishment for protected union activity. Parentheses for everyone listening, that is illegal. Employers cannot do that. It is illegal for an employer to retaliate against you or any other worker engaging in lawful concerted union activity. Those are your rights. And what it sounds like here is that we have like another situation where workers, yourselves included, engaged in those protected rights to walk out on an unfair labor practice strike and then faced what sounds like weeks worth of retaliatory action culminating in these BS, you know, investigations and charges that, you know, like you guys abandoned your posts and, you know, like got taken off the schedule. Like, so Mike, that's again, just my commentary and observation. But the question I want to ask you both, because it's a significant one, is do you suspect that you were being retaliated against for engaging in the strike?
Yes, I know for sure. I'm telling you, I have gotten a lot of phone calls that was backing me up and say, hey, and I'm not even being funny, but they said, I'm just letting you know, ever since you've been on that strike, you've been on the news and you posted up. The major came to them and told them, which was unprofessional, that I was on the chopper board. They want to make sure they get rid of me.
And Daryl, do you believe you were retaliated against for participating in the strike?
Yeah, of course. I mean, because the company never wanted it to begin with. They made all kinds of snide remarks, you know what I mean, and basically try to put us against the union. They never wanted. And then once we went to it, and then once it was over, then basically they showing us that they never wanted this. And so basically that's what we're going through now.
Well, let's talk about what you're going through now. As much as you're comfortable sharing, nothing you're uncomfortable sharing. But, you know I got to let you guys go in a few minutes. And with the little time that we have left, I wanted to talk about what this has meant for you and your families, like, you know, how this has affected your lives and where the hell things stand now with this investigation, you know, your jobs and what is the union doing to help and what can people listening do to help?
Well, I have to say this, you know, and I'm sorry I'm getting emotional again. The God I serve, I know he's going to have an answer for me. And, you know, they always say, when one door is shut, another one open. And thank God that I have a good support system. And my fiance has really supported me through it all. It told me, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. So without her and family members, trust me, you just don't know. I probably had a nervous breakdown, but like I said, the God I serve, and I thank God I have him in my life, I will be devastated with how y'all be out here doing things I ain't got no business doing. So I'm just asking those that's listening to keep us in prayer and keep fighting and fighting for us. And we just want answers. We need your help. We out here and been out of work with no pay, no unemployment, and not understanding why. Why? We just need help and prayer.
And Daryl, please hop in here, but I just wanted to underline something that Victoria said for everyone listening, in case we haven't made it clear. You know, if you don't get outright fired, but you just get taken off the schedule, you can't collect unemployment. So it's like screwing someone over twice. You know, they can't work to pay their bills and they can't collect unemployment to help with the costs of that. And that's what Daryl and Victoria are dealing with right now. Daryl, please hop in here and whatever you're comfortable sharing with folks, just tell us, you know, where things are for you, what the union's doing, and what folks listening can do to help.
Well, I mean, the union has been great for us. You know, been very supportive, and basically, I mean, I'm glad I'm with them, and I mean, I'm glad I met those people. However, you know, bills do still go on, even though since pretty much now I'm at a standstill. I mean, I'm sure it's fired because basically they saying that, but they won't say that. You know, so basically, yeah, like you said, I mean, no unemployment. You know, can't get my 401k out until something happened or whatever. So basically, I mean, you know, I mean, I have a family, so I don't know how, you know, I mean, I was going to be really tough to support them. So I mean, right now, I mean, I really don't know what.
We're just going to keep fighting. We're just going to keep fighting. Like he said, the union has really has been reaching us, even on holidays. They reach out to us to make sure that we're okay. You need anything, let us know. So we just want answers, you know, and need you guys' help. Don't give up on us, and we're not going to give up on you guys. We're just going to keep fighting.
All right, gang, that's going to wrap things up for us today. I want to thank our guests, Victoria Cox and Daryl Riley. Victoria is a former employee of Metropolitan Protective Services who worked to get to the rank of sergeant, and Daryl is a former MPS employee who's been working there for 15 months and reached the rank of corporal. Both Victoria and Daryl have had their shifts taken off the schedule and essentially had their jobs taken away, and they have both been put under investigation by MPS since they participated in an unfair labor practice strike in early April. And of course, I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to thank you for caring. We'll see y'all back here next time for another episode of Working People. And in the meantime, please go explore all the great work that we're doing at the Real News Network, where we do grassroots reporting that lifts up the voices and stories from the front lines of struggle. Check us out across our YouTube channel, our podcast feeds, our website, and our social media pages. And help us do more work like this by going to therealnews.com/donate and becoming a supporter today. I promise you guys, it really makes a difference. I'm Maximilian Alvarez. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Solidarity forever.
When my face you no longer see, I live on, yes, I live on. Wherever we go, we are going to roll the union on a song. I live on, yes, I live on. Wherever hungry are we, just as hungry can be. The song, I live on, yes, I live on. Where mean things are happening in this land is read a song. I live on, yes, I live on. Wherever the book mean things are happening in this land is read, I live on, yes, I live on. Wherever the videotape of me is shown, I live on, yes, I live on. If I have help to make this a better world to live in, I'll live on, yes, I'll live on. When my body is silent and in some lonesome grave, I live on, yes, I live on. When my songs and poems are read, I live on, yes, I live on.